Um, Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone. My name is Robin, and I will be taking you through the course of Introduction to Business. I'm currently a lecturer in Chongqing, where I teach the same subject plus Introduction to Economics, pretty much microeconomics. So, without further ado, let's jump into today's session. So, I thought we would be together, as an opening session, but it's okay. I'll do this pre-recording. You will watch it later on, and then I believe we're going to have live sessions together where I pretty much explain, the things that I'm going to share with you today. So I had made this. Like sort of breaking the ice sort of presentation for us to kind of get to know each other, but it's okay. We can still do it whenever we have the live sessions. For now, welcome to Introduction of Business, and as you can see here, I do have a few things that I have. So what is business in your mind? When we speak about business, what comes to you in your mind? So, uh, one of these companies I'm sure you have used or you use every day. I mean, the first one is McDonald's. We all know the big yellow M. This is TikTok, but here in China it's called Douyin. TikTok is pretty much the name that they call it outside of China. You have Taobao, which I think all of us use. I use it pretty much on a daily basis. Didi, I use it when I'm going from place to place. And then Starbucks, I'm not really a big fan of Starbucks, but yeah, a lot of young people they love Starbucks. They go there, for the environment, for the atmosphere, for the coffee. I'm not a big coffee drinker, that's why maybe I don't really go to Starbucks that much. And then we have Jingdong, which is similar to Taobao, but then they're more of the premium side of e-commerce, and they're also known for their fast delivery. So what business do you use every day? This was going to be like the question I was going to ask you, but since you're not here with me, you get to watch it anyhow. So think of one business that you use, visit, or see every single day. It can be an app that you use, it can be a restaurant, it can be a service. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because for us to build a foundation, we need to understand what kind of services these people offer us. Do they offer us goods? Do they offer us what we call services? But we will learn about that later on. So if we look at McDonald's is a fast food restaurant, right? It serves what? Burgers, fries, drinks. It's more of a multi international company. You can pretty much find McDonald's everywhere. And as you can see here, it's more than, they have McDonald's in more than 100 countries. So they mostly specialize on fast food, food and drinks. And Douyin or TikTok is more of a social media app which has short videos, live streams, fun content pretty much for everyone. I've seen people when they're bored, everyone is just on their phones scrolling, right? Taobao, I use Taobao almost every single day. Online shopping, you can buy almost anything that you can think of: clothes, gadgets, home items, and so many other things. Didi, it's a riding, more like a taxi service. You can book a ride, you can travel safely. It's very safe, it's convenient, it's also affordable, and you can pretty much get Didi in China at any time. I'm not sure about anywhere, but I believe so that you can get it anywhere within China itself. Starbucks, it's a coffee chain restaurant, right? Cafe, I meant to say. They specialize in coffee, drinks, and a comfortable place, like I said in the beginning, where young people like to go to relax and do their homework, do their assignments. And lastly, Jingdong or JD.com is an e-commerce platform, pretty much like Taobao, and you can buy electronics, home appliances, daily goods, and they're also known for their fast deliveries. The reason why I mentioned this is some of these companies, they sell what we call goods. Some of them, they offer us services, or they sell services. So what are goods and what are services is pretty much the introduction that we're going to have in this course. I mean, I'll run through everything, the topics that we're going to do, how many classes we're going to have together. This was just an exercise for us to sort of break the ice. So we move on. what is this course about, really? This course is mainly about, how businesses provide what we call goods and services that makes our lives easier and better each and every single day, because we use their products, we use their services each and every single day. So this is what this course is about. It's not about goods and services, but it's about what businesses do, how businesses sustain competition, and how they survive, how they make profit, what happens when there's a loss, and things like that. So business is everywhere. As you can see, these are stores, things like Walmart. I think it's called Walmart here. Walmart, H&M, we all know H&M. We have restaurants like McDonald's, KFC, pretty popular. We have applications that we use, Douyin, Weixin, WeChat, transportation, Gautier, the fast train, the Didi, banks, ICBC, Zhongguo, Yinha. There's so many more banks in China. And then we have factories, Foxconn, the one that makes the motherboard or the chips for iPhone. And then we also have BYD. So if we look at these companies, we buy daily things that we need from stores. So it can be, groceries and things like that. In McDonald's or KFC, for instance, we enjoy meals and good services. With applications, we connect, learn, shop, and get entertained pretty much. And with transportation, we travel from one place to another. With banks, we save money, we borrow, we invest. You see, there's so many things that these companies do for us that we might not even realize. And with factories, they produce goods for us. They make things for us that we end up buying. Like, for example, convenient cars, trustworthy brands, and things like that. So during this course, we will learn how businesses work. This is the reason why I put these companies. How do they work? What kind of service do they offer? Do they offer goods? Do they offer services? And things like that. And what will you learn in this course? So in this course, you will learn the key concepts and skills on how to understand businesses, how businesses work in the real world, like day-to-day basis. And our goal really is to understand business, get you to think like a manager, and be able to create value, to create something interesting, something that consumers would want to, give money to or buy your product. That is, what we will try and do in this course. So we will learn what businesses do. We explore, different types of businesses, how they create goods and services. We will also learn how companies make money, how businesses earn revenue, manage costs, and make a profit. We will also go on to learn marketing, because you cannot have a business, sell a service, sell a product without what we call marketing. We'll discover how companies attract customers and build strong brands. With these three, you cannot run these three without people that are managing, or leaders that are there, or supervisors that are there to make sure that each and every single one of these is being followed. So we will also learn about management. This will understand how managers plan, organize, lead, and control business activities. We'll move on to talk about entrepreneurship, which is people like Steve Jobs, Ma Yun, all these people that have started companies. So we will learn how people start new businesses, turn their ideas from their heads into big opportunities, either small or very, very big, like what BYD has become, Weixin, Taobao, Alibaba, all these companies. We will also move on to ethics, doing the right thing. What are you supposed to do when no one is watching? What are you supposed to do for the people, for the community, as a company or as an individual? So we'll explore the importance of doing the right thing and being responsible, a responsible business. And we'll move on to finance, because once you start having money in, you need to be able to manage your costs, your expenses, where to put your money, how to save your money, how to invest, and things like that. So we will learn how businesses manage money, make financial decisions, and plan for the future. We will also move on to, once you have all these 7 steps, obviously you're going to have people working for you, you're going to be working with people. So we need to learn about human resources, which is the hiring processes, the firing processes, people that deal with people, people that hire people. So we will understand how companies attract, develop, and support their employees. So these topics, if you look at them, they work together to help a business grow. pretty much. So they will make us understand all the basics of legs or foundations of a business, and how these businesses turn these 7 things into a positive impact as a business to the world. Our assessment for introduction to business is like this. 50% of your class will come from your final exam, which we will do pretty much at the end of, I think, probably after the 14th lecture. 14th lecture or 13th, I'm not sure, I'll double check on that. And then your attendance will carry 20% of your grade, your score, and then 30% of your score will come from your homework. So your effort leads to your success. Basically, if you attend class, you get your 20%. If you participate, you get your 20%. If you complete your homework, you get your 30%. It's easy as that. And if you prepare for your final exam, and if you listen, if you do all of these other 2, you will do well in this class. So it's pretty much easy to pass the class. You just need to participate, do your homework, attend the class, prepare for your final exam well, and you get a good grade. So I've broken down attendance and homework into 2 sections. So your presence matters, when we're talking about attendance. Attend every class, be here so you don't miss any important information and any update. If I have an update, maybe I'll be late, maybe we have to move the class. Participation is very important, because you can listen and listen, but you forget. But the moment you talk, the moment you ask, you will always remember the things that you discuss, the things that you question, So missing many classes, obviously, I think this is normal in all the schools all over the world. Missing many classes will cause you to withdraw, to result in a withdrawal. So be here, be involved, and you will succeed. Under homework, practice makes perfect. Practice, repetition is the good thing about, succeeding. If you want to succeed, you have to keep repeating. You find these professionals that are very good at what they do, but they keep doing the same thing over and over again. I believe we will have 3 assignments. I will double check on that. But yeah, I believe from my schedule, we have 3 assignments together during this course. You will have to do them online, submit your assignments on due dates, and plan ahead so that you don't miss any assignments. Sorry about that. Late work is obviously you get a 0. Late submissions will not be accepted. No makeup tests. Tests cannot be made up if you miss them. So do your best and you will do well. Fun activity that I had planned for us, but since I'm pre-recording this and you guys will watch it later on, it's okay. So let's look at the logos and think about, what comes first to our heads. I'm sure we all know this Apple logo, right? What comes to our head? Obviously, iPhones, iPads, MacBooks, and things like that, right? McDonald's, obviously, fries, hamburgers, Tesla, electric vehicles. What else does Tesla do? Probably spaceships, right? Starbucks, coffee, cool environments. Alibaba, a lot of things, international business, a lot of customers. Nike, for me, I think about athletes, something sporty, something to do with sports. So what does each company sell? Does it sell goods? Does it sell services? Does it sell both? Right. So we will jump in our first lecture and we will learn what is a good, what is a service, and what kind of goods or services do these companies sell. Question 2 would be, which company do you like the most? Why? You're supposed to tell us in the chat, but you can do this at home. So let's move on to what we will learn this semester or during these 14 lectures. So we will learn how businesses pretty much start, how a business is started, how people turn ideas into real businesses, because most of the time when people start business, it's a small idea, but then they end up turning it into something big. We can give an example of Alibaba. He thought of an idea, but then look at Alibaba now, look at Taobao now. We'll also go on to learn how, once you have that idea, once you start, how do you grow? How do you build and expand your business? We'll move on to how do you market the product so that people know the products, understand your consumers, which are the buyers, and how to promote value that people want to invest their money in, or people want to use their money, their hard-earned money, to buy your products. We'll move on to how they manage employees, lead teams, how managers lead teams and create a positive work environment. Because if your company is good, but then you don't have good managers, you don't motivate people, people will leave the company. We'll also move on to how companies earn profits, make money, and create value. And lastly, we will look at the competition around the world, understand global business, and how to compete successfully. So by end of this course, you will have the knowledge and skills to succeed in any business, hopefully. So I will close this screen and I will share some more information with you regarding the course. So what do I have for you here? It's pretty much the textbook. So the textbook that we will use for this course will be, just give me a second, I'll share with you my screen. This is the textbook that Davis has given to me, the textbook that we are all going to use. There we go, share. Okay, so this is the 10th edition, Business, A Changing World by O.C. Farrell, Godfrey, Geoffrey Hurt, and Linda Farrell. So this is the book that we're going to use. So majority of my my work, I have taken it from here, but then the textbook is a bit, they give you all the information in detail. So I had to simplify it. My my PPTs are more of the simplified version of this textbook. But if you want to learn more, if you want to dig deeper, this would be the book that you can use. And everything that I am going to share with you, everything that I'm going to say in my PPTs comes straight from this book. So if you want to learn deeper, like I said, if you want to learn more things that maybe I might not cover, this is the textbook that you can use. I will share the classes that we will do together, as in the chapters that we will cover together. We would do together I think 14 lectures, and after 14 lectures each and every week, I believe we will have a live session where you will get to ask me questions on things that you don't understand, or on things that you might want clarification on, and stuff like that. So these are our chapters that we will do. So this is the overview of the chapters that we do from 1 to 14. I hope we'll be able to finish all of them. So chapter 1, basically, we will look at the dynamics of business and economics. Here, we will learn, we introduce about businesses, goods and services, like I mentioned, profit, stakeholders, and economic systems. In chapter 2, we'll go on to learn about business ethics, social responsibility, and this topic is about, we'll learn how to explain what ethics are, what corporate social responsibility is, what is sustainability and business responsibilities in a society, in a community, in a country, or in a nation. In chapter 3, we will talk about businesses in a borderless world. This talks about how businesses, are expanding to become global, multinational, and things like that. So we'll cover globalization, international trade, and global business operation. In chapter 4, we'll talk about options for organizing businesses. We'll explain more on ownership structures such as sole proprietorships, partnerships, and cooperation. In chapter 5, we will look at small businesses, entrepreneurs, and franchising. So we'll cover, these people that study businesses, how they start businesses, small business management, and franchising. Buying a brand, opening your own McDonald's, opening your own Starbucks. And in chapter 6, we'll look at the nature of management. We'll introduce management functions, including planning, organizing, leading, and controlling in an organization. And in chapter 7, we'll look at organization, teamwork, and communication. So we'll pretty much explain organizational structures, teamwork, and workplace communication. Like, how do you talk to people? How do you form a two-way communication? Not just managers speak, but you also need to listen to your staff, to your employees. And in chapter 7, we'll look at, I think I talked about chapter 7, right? In chapter 7, look at organization, teamwork, and communication. I think I talked about it. Like, how do you talk to your employees? How does a manager communicate with his staff, with his employees? In chapter 8, we will go on to talk about managing services and manufacturing operations. We'll discuss operations, production, service delivery, and efficiency. In chapter 9, we will talk about motivating the workforce, because like I said, you might have a good company, but if you're not motivating people, if people are not happy to come, if people are not excited to be part of that company, they will leave and you will have a high turnover. So we explain motivation theories, rewards, satisfaction, and employee benefits. In chapter 10, we'll go on to talk about managing human resources. So we cover recruitment, training, how do you develop your staff when they come in as juniors to senior roles, management, and labor relations. In chapter 11, we'll talk about customer-driven marketing. How do you focus on your customers? How do you listen to your customers? So we introduce customer needs. What do your customers want? What do they need? What do they require from you? Research, segmentation, and market value. In chapter 12, we'll talk about dimensions of marketing strategy, where we will explain things like strategies, the 4 Ps, your price, your product, your place, and things like distribution. In chapter 13, we'll talk about digital marketing and social networking. We will cover digital marketing, social media, e-commerce, and online communication. This chapter, I think, is very, very important in the modern day world, because social media has taken over the business world. Pretty much every company is trying to succeed nowadays on social media, having an e-commerce platform, because digital marketing is very important if you want to succeed, if you want to maintain, or if you want to build a successful business in 2026. And lastly, we will talk about accounting and financial statements, where we will introduce accounting principles, financial records, and financial statements. It's a lot, but I will try my best to explain or to cover as much as I can. So without wasting more time, let's jump into today's lecture. I will just stop this and then I will open today's PPT. It's going to be an interesting class, really, because business is these are things that we see, these are things that we buy, these things that we do pretty much every single day. I opened the same. I already introduced this to you, so let me try to share the right slide with you, and then we will go on from there. There we go. So this will be our first class today, and we will talk about introduction to business, the dynamics of business and economics. Yes, I hope I'm sharing the right slide, because I don't want you to miss this class. Let me just double check so that you are. Let me do this so that I will see if we are together on this, because sometimes my computer shares the wrong screen, but I believe it is the right screen. So like I said, Introduction to Business is our class, and we are talking about the dynamics of business and economics. So here, our learning outcome, our module learning outcome here would be is to discuss the role of business in society. What does business do in society? The primary functions within a business and external forces that affect business activities, like outside things that affect a business. So we will explain the concept of business, distinguish between for-profit and non-profit businesses, list and explain the 4 factors of production required to sustain a business. We'll also identify the primary functional areas within a business and describe their contribution to the organization. We'll move on to explain, to identify business stakeholders, and describe their relationship with the business, like how are they important, and then we also go on to identify the external forces that shape business environment. So what is business before we start? What is business? When I mention what is business in your mind, what comes to your head? So we explain the concept of business, obviously, define the term business. We will distinguish between profit, loss, and value. We'll learn what this means. What is a profit? What is loss? What is value? We will be able also to learn to distinguish between goods and services. So finally, what is business? So business, I have a small definition here in general, is any activity that provides goods and services to consumers for the purpose of making a profit. So anything that provides goods and services to people, to buyers, for the purpose of making money so that it grows, and also so that it invests, and also so that it grows and buys more things. It can become more. It can generate more and more money. So it is any activity that provides goods or services to consumers for the purpose of making a profit, right? But there are some businesses with the aim of making a profit, and there are some businesses with the aim of not making a profit, but helping the society, helping the country, helping the nation, helping those who do not have a lot of money. We will learn about those, okay? So goods and services. What are goods and what are services? Examples of goods are tangible items such as cars, televisions, or your iPhone, which I know you pretty much like. So in general, in short, a good is something that you purchase, that you can actually touch, take home, something that you can own, tangible. Tangible means something that you can touch, something that you can feel. And examples of services, these are actions or something that is performed, or work performed for monetary compensations, like when you go to a restaurant, or when somebody is cutting your hair, or when you go to a dentist. So the examples are haircut, hotel stays, roller coaster rides. Businesses can generate profits from sale of these goods and services. So in short, goods are things that you can pretty much feel, things that you can own, things that you can take home. A service is rather something that you cannot touch. It's not tangible. It's something that you cannot own in most cases. It's something that you can pretty much not see, right? You're paying for someone to do some actions. You're paying for someone to cut your hair. You're paying for someone to clean your teeth. You cannot take that process of cleaning your teeth back home, but you can take your iPhone from the shop back home. So goods are tangible things. Services are things that you cannot actually feel, see, or own in most cases, right? And retailers sell goods. So retailers, these are pretty much like shops. When you go to a shopping mall, shops that sell things like a hardware or a clothing shop, where you can buy your t-shirt, where you can buy your jeans. In this case, my example is a hardware. A hardware this way is a shop where you can buy tools, things like ladders, hammers, nails, and so on and so on. And restaurants provide services. So when you go to a restaurant, you're paying for a service, right? Let's move on. So just so that you don't get confused, I created like a comparison table. So we have goods versus services. So businesses provide products or do work for people. There are two main types of goods and services, right? So we have goods in green, we have services in blue. So goods are things you can see, touch, and take home, just like I explained. You can see it, you can touch it, and you can pretty much take home after you purchase it, right? So examples would be clothing, your phone, a chair, some groceries that you buy from a grocery store, right? You can see and touch them. These are the characteristics of what we call a good. You can see, you can touch them. You can own the item after you purchase it, you buy it. They can be stored or sold later. For example, you can use your iPhone for 4 years after buying it, and you can sell it, you can resell it. Maybe not for the same amount of money, but you can still sell it, right? Retailers sell goods. For example, A clothing store like H&M, right? It sells clothes, you buy a t-shirt and you take it home. This is what we call a good. A service, on the other hand, services are actions or work that is done for you. Like I told you, when you go to a barber, when you go to a barber shop, when you go to a saloon. So for example, a restaurant, it sells what? Food, right? You are paying for what we call food service. When you go to a barber or a saloon, you're paying for your haircut, right? A saloon or a barber. A teacher like myself, I'm teaching you education. So education is something that you cannot touch, but it's something that you can use, right? So it's more like a product in the air that you cannot see. But if you listen, get a good grade, you can get a good job, right? And you pay for it, you get a good grade, you get a good job, right? So taxi, it's offering you what we call transportation service, right? You cannot own that. It can just take you from one place to another. So what are the characteristics of services? You cannot see or touch them. You don't own them. They're used at the same time they're provided. So you use them at the same time they're provided. Restaurants, for example, they provide a service. So an example would be a restaurant provides a service. You eat a meal, they prepare it for you. So they make the meal for you. When you go to a restaurant, you order, right? You pay your $20 and then they make the meal for you. You eat it at the same time, right? You go to a barber shop, you pay, he cuts your hair, you leave the same time. You see, so they provide you services, and they prepare them for you as well. And then on the bottom here, I have like a small comparison table with the key differences. So we have key differences feature in the middle, and then we have goods on the left, and then we have services. So let's look at what is it? What are goods? What are services? These are things that you can see and touch. We're referring to goods here. And on the other side, services, these are actions or work done for you. Under goods, ownership. Who owns this? You own the item after you purchase it, right? On services, you do not own the service, right? It is provided to you. The service is provided to you. The guy cuts your hair. The waiter brings you food. The teacher teaches you a subject. The taxi takes you from one place to another and it leaves you there, right? And it moves on to take somebody else. Storage. Under goods, of course, if you buy a t-shirt, you can keep it in your wardrobe. If you buy a phone, you can keep it. A chair can be in your kitchen or your dining hall. Groceries in your kitchen. A restaurant, food at a restaurant, you cannot really store it. Yes, someone can say, oh, but you can buy food from a restaurant and keep it at home. But yeah, you have to use it for, maybe within 48 hours or something like that, right? Services cannot be stored. An example, retailers sell goods, right? Your clothes and things like that. An example of services, these are restaurants, schools, saloons, and they all provide what we call services. So I hope that is clear. Let's move on. We'll move on to profit, losses, and value. So what is profit? What is a loss? And what is value? Profit is the amount of revenue or income that a business owner retains after paying all expenses associated with the operation of the business. What this means is profit is that money that I make after I've taken out all the expenses incurred from starting the business, the product, the raw materials and everything. That extra money that I make from selling, from doing all of these things, after I have paid all the expenses, this is what we call profit. So if the expenses of a business exceed revenue or income, the money that you're making from your business or the money that you're generating from operations, then the business will suffer what we call a loss. This means you're not making, money. You're not making enough as compared to what you invested or what you started with. You're making less than that. So businesses that suffer extraordinary losses during a short period of time or slowly see their profits decline may end up filing for what we call bankruptcy and eventually liquidating their assets and things like that. So when businesses talk about value, they're referring to the relationship between the price a customer pays for a good and service. So when we talk about value, we're looking at, when I buy an iPhone, am I happy with the money that I'm putting down? Am I excited? Do I see any good things in the money that I'm exchanging for a product, right? So the benefits that the customers receive in exchange for their money, in short. And like always, I have a small comparison table here, which talks about profit, loss, and value. So businesses want to create value for customers. Why? Because if you do not create value, people will leave. Your customers will go somewhere else where they find the product interesting or they find the business interesting. So when businesses sell goods and services, they aim to make profit, avoid loss, but create value. So what is profit? What is loss? And what is value? So profit is when the total revenue is more than the total cost. So we'll look at the lemonade example here. So revenue is the money that you are making, pretty much the money that you're generating, the money that is coming in, right? And costs, these are things that you need to pay for, maybe your raw materials or your workers or your rent or things like that. It differs from one business to another. So the cost for us to start this lemonade stand was $80, right? This is the money that I spent to buy maybe the straw, the lemons, the cups, the lemonade itself, the sugar, the water, the lemons, and anything that I would have put inside here, right? I spent $80 for my labor, the table, maybe the rent. I've spent $80 on that. And then when I started my business, when I opened, I generated $150, right? I generated $150. So if we minus the costs from the money that I made, I'm left with $70, which means I've made a profit because I started with 80, but I've made 150, which is almost double the money that I started with. So we call that profit, right? So money that is left, what is profit? Profit is money that is left after paying all the costs. This is what I used. So when I went in the business, I was $80 down, but I managed to recover that $80 and made $70 on top. So this is what we call profit. So it is good for the business, can be saved or used to grow the business. An example would be the one that I just gave you of $70. Let's look at a loss. A loss is when the total cost, this cost, right, is more than the revenue, okay? So for example here, if this 80, if this revenue was maybe 60, that means I would have made a loss. But let's use the example that I have. So loss is when the total costs are more than the total revenue. So the same thing is, let's say I'm opening a bakery shop, right? And the cost that I incurred was 120 for the bakery, the shop, the stand, or the workers, the flour, the raw material, and everything else, right? It was 120. But then when I finally opened, when I finally started selling, the customers only bought things for $90, right? So you see, 120 compared to 90, that means I did not make even the one that I started with. So, excuse me. So we call this a loss, right? Because I'm still down $30, right? I did not make enough. I did not break even, right? I did not even break even. I did not make 120. I did not make 130. I am less than 120. So is this 120? Is this 90 minus 120, right? And then we are down $30. Okay, so money is missing after all costs. Pretty much you're not making enough. Not good for the business. Obviously a loss is not good for the business. The business needs to make changes so that they can be in the green zone. And what is value? Value here, we'll look at the benefit. Value is the benefit or importance of something to a customer. So this is the importance of something to a customer. Like how important is your iPhone? Like for example, a t-shirt here. it's comfortable, it's a good quality, it looks nice. This is the value for the customer, right? The comfortability that it has, the good quality that it has, the appearance that it gives the customer. Like for example, in an iPhone, it's cool, it's trendy, the operating system is good, it doesn't lag, it doesn't freeze. When you're young, it's stylish, it gives you this good social presence. So those values, so those things are what we call value. So basically the benefits or the importance of something that you see in a product, right? Like, for example, this t-shirt, this guy views it as comfortability, good quality. It looks nice on him. So this is value to him. So when he pays $20, he compares these things to his money. And if he's satisfied, that means he got value for his money. So value is what customers get or receive. Customers compare value with the price. Like, I'm paying you $20. Am I getting the benefits? Am I getting something of importance for my $20 that I'm giving you? But if you give $20 and you only get one benefit, that means you're not creating good value for your customers, right? So if the value is higher than the price, customers are happy, right? If the value is high, if the t-shirt is good, if it's stylish, if it makes everyone tell you, oh, you look good, then you consider that you're getting more value than the $20 that you spend, right? So value helps businesses build strong relationships, because look at iPhone. iPhone has managed to do this. Whenever they release an iPhone, people always see value in it. So Apple has managed to create this strong bond with people. Jingdong also does the same. People tend to say that Jingdong, most of the products are authentic. There's no fake products. So you see, there's value there. People trust that kind of a business. So let's look at the features and the key differences between profit, loss, and value. So the features that we have here is definition, obviously. Money left after costs. This is profit. So revenue is more than the costs. This is what we call a profit. Loss. You don't have not enough money. Costs are more than revenue. So it's the opposite of profit. Your revenue is less than your starting cost or your cost in overall. Your value, the benefit or importance to the customer. Result. This profit is a positive result. It's good for the business. Loss, it's negative, of course. It's not good for the business. Value, though, it's not about the money. It's about the benefit that the customers get from your product, or the importance they view over your product. An example would be, let's say, under profit, you sell an iPhone for $500. The cost to make it is $300. So you sell your iPhone for $500. To make the iPhone costs you $300, right? What is the profit? Obviously, it's 500 minus this 300, so that is 200 profit, right? Your cost is less than the money, the revenue that you generated. And loss, let's say you sell a phone for 200, right? But then it costs 300 to make the phone. So 200 minus 300, you still need to cover up for 100, right? So that means you made a loss. Undervalue, customers buy the phone because it is useful, reliable, and worth the price. And I'll always give iPhone as an example. People buy iPhones because it is useful, it is reliable, it is worth the price. The operating system, everything inside it, the applications, people view that as important and useful. So the main goal here under profit, loss, and value is, under profit is to make more money than you spend. That is the main goal of each and every business. Obviously, to reduce costs and increase revenue is the aim of a business. No business wants to incur cost and cost and cost. Otherwise, it will go bankruptcy and it will close. Value, all businesses aim to create a high value for their customers. So before we go on, I hope you understand what profit, loss, and value are. We'll take a short 10-minute break, and when I come back, we will look at some practice questions that I had prepared for you. So let's see each other in 10 minutes and we will continue from there. Okay. Okay, so let's continue. So we had finished just talking about profit, loss, and what value is. Now let's move on to a few questions that I prepared for you. These you can do at home, and you can ask me when we do our live sessions, or we can practice them when we do our live sessions. So, how do you define what profit is? This is our question one. In other words, what is profit? How do you define profit? A, when revenue exceeds costs. B, when costs exceed revenue. C, when revenue achieves planned target. D, when the bottom line is in the red. So you tell me, prepare these questions. I will ask you when we do our live Q&A so that we can talk about the answers together, because right now it won't make sense for me to give you the answers. You need to kind of go and study, or go and look at everything that we've covered so far so that you can answer this question. And if you have any other questions or misunderstandings, please write it down so that when we have our live sessions, I believe every Sunday you can ask me those questions, or I can clarify some things for you. So let's move on to question number 2. What does question number 2 say? Question number 2 says, how do you define a loss? How do you define loss? And the A says when costs fall lower than projection. B, when the bottom line is in the black. C, when revenue exceeds costs. D, when costs exceed revenue. So you pick whichever answer you think might be the right definition for loss. Number 3, how do you define value? From everything that we have done, how do you define value? A says when the perception of the competition is too expensive. B, the perceived benefits by a customer of price to the time and money spent. C, when the market research establishes the floor price. D, when a customer purchases for the lowest price in town. So again, how do you define value? You pick from A, B, C, D. Number 4, what is a business? What is a business? Is it A, an organization that sells goods or services to earn a profit? Is it B, a place where only products are made? Is it C, a government office that collects taxes? Is it D, a charity that gives away free products? Again, you have to pick the right answer depending on everything that we have covered before these questions. Number 5, which of the following is a good? Which of the following is a good? A, is it a haircut? B, is it a taxi ride? C, is it a smartphone? D, is it a music lesson? And number 6, which of the following is a service? A pair of shoes. B, a restaurant serving a meal. C, a bottle of water. D, a laptop. And number 7, which statement is true about goods and services? Goods can be touched, but services cannot. That is your A. B, services can always be stored for later. C, goods are only sold by restaurants. D, services are physical products you can own. So, which one is the not answer for number 7? Number 8, a clothing store buys t-shirts for $10 each. So a clothing store buys t-shirts for $10 each and sells them for $20 each. What does the store make? What does it make? Does it make a loss? Is it value? Is it C? Is it a service? So your A is loss, your B is value, your C is profit, and your D is service. Number 9, a customer pays a barber to cut their hair. What is the barber providing? So a barber is that person who cuts your hair when you go to your barber shop. So a customer pays a barber to cut their hair. What is the barber providing? A good. B, a service. C, a profit. D, a loss. So again, you tell me which one is the correct answer between A, B, C, and So answer those questions. If you have any questions or misunderstandings, let me know when we have our Q&As. Let's move on to for profit. We're going to talk about businesses that are mainly for profit and businesses that are non-profit businesses. So again, our learning outcomes here under this subtopic would be being able to distinguish between for-profit and non-profit business. Explain the purpose of a for-profit business and explain the purpose for a non-profit business, and being able to distinguish one for profit and one for non-profit. So non-profit business. A non-profit business or a not-for-profit business is one that provides goods and services to consumers. But its primary goal is not to retain profit to the owners of the business, as in the case with the for-profit business. So what does this mean? A non-for-profit, a non-profit business or a not-for-profit business, they provide goods and services to consumers, to us, the clients, the consumers, the buyers. But their main goal, their main outcome that they're trying to achieve is not to make more money to give to the owners or investors, right? Instead, they use these profits. If they all make profits. They use the money they make to provide a public service, advance a cause, or assist others. So basically, when they offer or when they sell these goods and services, they are not aiming to keep making profit and profit and profit. They do make profit. Some of them actually make a lot of profit, but they take that money not for paying its shareholders or its owners. They use that money to boost up, public services, advance a cause, or assist others. I've given worldwide examples, but later on, I think I have some Chinese examples as well. So we have American Red Cross. I think we all know Red Cross. Red Cross is pretty much worldwide. SPCA, this is the one that takes care of, stray animals, dogs, cats, and things like that. American Cancer Society funding, people that are not feeling well, people that are diagnosed with cancer. So again, I've made a small comparison table for us. So this is for profit business. Or before I go on, just so that you don't get confused here. So we said a non-profit business, its goal is to not make profit, right? Not to make profit. Its primary goal is not to return profit to its owners, as in when they get money, when they get profit, they do not give it to the shareholders. Whereas the profit one, their aim is to pay their shareholders, their investors, and to keep making more and more money, right? So we have a small comparison table here for profit business. Excuse me. A for-profit business provides goods or services to make a profit for its owners and shareholders, like I just said a few minutes ago. So for-profit business, this is a business that is specifically aims, their main goal, their primary goal is to make more money, to generate more money than its cost. So they keep lowering the cost, and then in the end, they're making more and more and more profit. So the reason why they want to keep making more and more profit is to make its owners happy and its shareholders. So the main goal here is to earn a profit by selling goods or providing services. What happens to the profit? You might ask, okay, what happens to the profit that they make if they keep making more and more profit? So we have what we call owners and shareholders. They receive the profit, and the profit can be paid as dividends, and extra profit can be invested to grow the business. So the money that they're left with after they've paid the shareholders and their owners, they can also invest it in the business. Examples of well-known companies that are for profit, Apple, which is a technology company that it has technology products like iPhone, iPad, a MacBook, and also Apple services. We have McDonald's, which is a fast food restaurant all over the world. We have Starbucks, which is a coffee shop and offers drinks in many countries. We have Alibaba, which is an e-commerce company, a cloud computing company, and also digital payment services like Alipay. Tesla, it sells cars, batteries, and its aim is to promote clean energy. And then we have Tencent, which is provides us with social media, games, online payments like WeChat Pay. So their aim, these businesses, is to generate more and more profit for investment, to pay its owners, and to pay its shareholders. And let's look at for a non-profit. A non-profit is on the other hand. So for profit versus for non-profit, let's look at the comparison between the two, right? So both types of organizations, they provide goods and services. Both of them do provide goods and services. Both of them, in some cases, they actually do sell goods and services, but their goals are different, right? So on the green side here, we have for-profit business, the one that its main goal is to make profit. And then the purple sector here is a non-profit business. So let's look. The goal is for a profit business, for-profit business, is to make profit for owners and shareholders. For a non-profit business is to serve the public, support a cause, or help others, right? How is the profit used in both businesses? In a for-profit business, profit is returned to the owners or shareholders in terms of dividends or bonuses, right? For a non-profit business, how do they use the profit? Profit is used to support the mission to provide more services and to keep expanding the non-profit business. Who owns it? Who owns a non-profit business versus a for-profit business? Owned by individuals and shareholders. This is a for-profit business. Things like Apple, Alibaba, Tencent, McDonald's, and things like that, right? They're owned by individuals or what we call shareholders. What about for non-profit businesses? These are owned by organizations, and no private owners take profit. So mostly owned by organizations, and you don't have such thing as owners taking profit. An example would be expand the business, open new stores, invest in new products. This is how they generate more capital, or they use the profit that they make. They expand the business, open new stores, and invest in products, right? For a non-profit, when they do generate profit, for a non-profit organization, they help people, run programs that help people, do research, and raise awareness. So it could be maybe a disease, it could be maybe an outbreak, it could be maybe lower income households, it could be those people that are suffering, right? And examples, like I said, for profit businesses, we have Apple, McDonald's, Alibaba, Tesla, Starbucks, and Tencent. And examples for non-profit businesses, we have China Red Cross Foundation, we have Yuan Longping Foundation, we have UNICEF, which is worldwide, we have WWF, Doctors Without Borders, right? So examples of non-profit organizations, like I said, we have China Red Cross, which provides disaster relief, medical assistance, and humanitarian aid in China and abroad. We have Yuan Longping Foundation. It promotes agriculture, those people that come from rural areas that might not have enough capital to sustain themselves or for farming. So it promotes agriculture research and education to help solve global hunger. So this is mainly in those places where people don't have enough food, or maybe they're facing a drought, or maybe the land is not as fertile. UNICEF, it works in over pretty much 190 countries to protect children's rights, health, and education. And then you have Doctors Without Borders. It provides medical care in emergency situations, conflict zones, and areas with limited healthcare. So the key point here is for you to remember, so that you don't get confused, is for a profit business, for a profit business, its aim is to make money for its owners. Okay, the shareholders, the investors, and things like that, for the business to keep growing, to expand, open new stores, and invest in new products. For a profit business, its main goal is to make money, right? For a non-profit organization, its aim, even when they make the profit, is to make a difference, right? So they take the profit and make a difference, rather than for a profit business which is trying to make its owners and its shareholders happy. So you see the difference. I hope I have explained it clearly. If you still have questions, be sure to let me know. I'll be more than answer. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. So let's move on. For profit versus non-profit businesses. So we have for profit, we have for non-profit. For profit businesses, these are organizations that are aimed at making profit. They provide goods and services to consumers for the purpose of making profit, to generate more. So like I said earlier on, we can see they only have one red arrow here. What businesses like Alibaba, Tesla, McDonald's, and all these other for-profit businesses do is they try to lower and lower the running costs, their costs, all in all, the rent, everything that is used to generate the product or the service that they sell. So they try to make that as small as possible, to lower that money as less as they can. Why? Because their aim is to make profit. So you see, this is called a piggy bank, basically. So this pig represents money. You see, we only have one arrow of money going out, which is the cost, which is 1. So if we look at the ratio here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as to 1, which means they're making profit, right? It's 5 green compared to 1. 1 is less. This is the aim for these for-profit businesses. Their aim is to have lower costs, lower running costs, lower costs overall, but have a lot of profit, a lot of revenue generated. Whereas a non-profit business, they also provide goods and services in order to generate income, right? They cannot just sit there and say, oh, we don't care about money, so we don't. No, they still provide goods and services to generate income to further the mission. So what I mean by that is to keep growing, to keep helping people, to keep expanding, to keep researching maybe for cancer, for a disease, or for something. So as we can see here, yes, they do make profit. And from the example that I've gave you, it's sort of 50-50. You see, they have costs, right? They have costs, but they're also having money coming in. Rather than, as compared to the for-profit business where it is 5-1, here is 3-3. So they do make profit, but they use that profit to further on their mission, to grow and to invest in their projects or in those programs that they are running. So I hope you understand, right? Let's have a comparison table again. So for profit and not for profit business, or in other words, non-profit, right? For profit, incurs expenses for operations. They all incur expenses for operation. Both for profit and for non-profit, they do have expenses to run the business. That's what I mean, incur expenses for operations. For profit business provides goods and services for customers. Also for non-profit business organization provides goods and services for customers. For a profit business, the one that is aimed at generating profit for its owners and shareholders, it generates revenue from sales, right? From selling things, right? Either it is a good or it's a service. For non-profit business, it generates revenue from sales and or contributions, okay? So they make their money from sales as well, and or contributions, right? For profit business is owned by individuals, partners, or what we call shareholders, right? So businesses like Alibaba, Tesla, McDonald's, and the rest, they're owned by individuals, partners, or what we call shareholders, people with certain percentages of a company, maybe 10%, 20% of Alibaba, of Tesla, or of something like that, right? For a non-profit business, it is operated by what we call a board of directors, trustees, or managers. So you have a group of people that are running that organization, sometimes a board of directors, trustees, or managers. For a profit business, the profit is used to pay owners and partners or the shareholders. So for a profit business, when they make when they make profit, they use that profit to pay the owners, to pay the partners, to pay the shareholders. So in the end, those shareholders, they'll keep investing more and more money when they see more coming back. So that is the goal. For a non-profit organization, profit is used to further the mission of the organization. What I mean by this is, if they are currently doing a research on cancer, a research or maybe a program feeding the hungry, they will, when they make profit, they will take that money and pump it into that research or into that program that they're currently running. For a profit business, of course, they do pay salaries to employees and their managers. Also, for a non-profit organization, they do pay salaries to employees and their managers as well. And lastly, profits are subject to taxation by local, state, or federal authorities. So for a profit business, their profits are looked at, their financial statements are looked at by the local state, the local taxation office, the state or the federal authorities. So they can be taxed. They get taxation. They have to pay a certain percentage of money to the government. Whereas as for non-profit organizations, profits are not subject to taxation by local, state, and federal authorities in most cases. So those are the final comparisons between for-profit and for non-profit organization. And like always, I have a small class discussion. So I was hoping that you'd be here. So just take these questions down, you write them down, and then we'll talk about them when we have a live Q&A. Can a business make money and help people at the same time? Why or why not? Do you think a business can make money and help people at the same time? If yes, you give me the reasons. If not, you also give me the reasons. Number 2, if you started your own business, what would be more important to you, making money or helping people, and why? So if you choose making money, why? If you choose helping people, and why? So we can discuss this when we have our live Q&As. And then we move on to factors of production, things that are required to sustain a business or to run a business. And like always, our learning outcomes here under factors of production would be, by the end of this, you should be able to list and explain the 4 factors of production required to sustain a business. You should also be able to list the 4 factors of production and explain the 4 factors of production themselves. Right. So resources and factors of production. Resources basically are inputs used to produce outputs, goods or services. So resources are things that we need to make outputs, which we call, goods or services, our iPhones, our clothes, and things like that. Resources, these things that we put together, 1 + 1 + 3, are also called factors of production. So what are factors of production? What are things that we need in order to run a business or to start a business? We have 4 of them. So here we try to understand the factors of production. So we have what we call natural resources. What are natural resources? Natural resources are any natural resources like land, plants, livestock, wind, sun, water, and there's so many more. These are things that come naturally, right? We need them to run a business, to start or to sustain a business. Labor. You cannot run a business without human workforce, right? Human power, manpower. So labor is any human service, physical or intellectual. So physical, it means maybe in construction, you need strong men, right? But maybe if you're doing something to do with computers, AI, automation, you need someone who is very smart, who can program, who can use the computer. So that's what we mean by physical or intellectual. are also referred to as human capital. So labor, in some textbooks or in some classes, you will see it listed as human capital instead of labor. And then we have capital. Most people confuse human capital and capital. These are two different things. Capital is anything that is manufactured in order to be used in the production of goods and services. For example, equipment, the equipment that we use in the production of goods and services. And lastly, you cannot have a business without the mind. You cannot have the business without an idea first. And who comes up with these ideas? Who are the minds? We call these people entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurship is the ability to recognize a profit opportunity, organize the factors of production, and accept risk. What does this mean? It means that we have these people that find that, maybe if I start selling plastic that can absorb heat, or plastic that doesn't absorb heat, I'll make so much money. Or maybe they'll realize, there's a problem in the world that people are suffering from, like this, for example. Or maybe there's too many people on Saturdays, so maybe I can start, these sharing bikes. This is how these ideas start. So this entrepreneur has this idea, and he turns this idea into a profit opportunity, which is a business, right? So he takes the natural resource, the labor, whether it's physical, intellectual, the capital, and then he puts them together, and he has business or production, right? So the four factors of production, these are resources people use to produce goods and services. So like I said, we have natural resources, right? So any natural resource from the planet, from Earth. So things like land, water, plants, animals, sunlight, wind, minerals. You can clearly see from the picture, right? These are gifts from nature. We do not make them, pretty much. That's why they're called natural resources. Labor, any human service or physical or intellectual, also called human capital. So examples would be builders, teachers, doctors, engineers, writers, cashiers, a teacher like me. All right. People use their skills and effort to get the job done, right? Capital, anything that is manufactured or made by people and used to produce goods and services, right? So these are things that we manufacture ourselves, things that we use to produce goods and services. So to produce goods and services, what do we need? We need machinery, we need tools, we need buildings, we need computers, we need vehicles, we need equipment, right? So tools, machines, and buildings to help us to produce more, right? So we need machinery to make 1,000 units. We need tools to make 1,000 units. We need buildings to make. We need a factory to be able to produce, right? We need vehicles for that good that we produce to be moved from Beijing to Chengdu, or from Chengdu to Guangzhou, right? So they all fall under capital. And entrepreneurship, the ability to recognize a profit opportunity, organize the other factors of production, and accept risk. So being able to see that there's an opening there, and then taking 1 plus 1 plus 1, and you come up with something that can generate capital. So examples would be starting a business, creating a new business, taking a calculated risk, solving problems that people have, or bringing everything together. So entrepreneurs bring everything together, the other factors of production together, to create value and make profit. So an example that I have here is a coffee shop, right? A coffee shop, it needs natural resources for it to make that 1 cup of coffee. So the natural resources in this case are coffee beans, water, right? Because the coffee beans need to grow. The land, you need to have the coffee bean tree on the land. So you need water, you need land for building the factory, right? For you to start making coffee, you need land as well to build a factory there. You need coffee beans plus labor. Labor, these are the people that the baristas, the people that work in that coffee shop. So, and the people that, check in your money, the people that bring the coffee to you. So we have baristas, cashiers, cleaners, a manager that makes sure everything is okay. And with that, you need capital. These are things like machinery, right? So you need coffee machines to grind the coffee, to make the coffee. You need a store, right, to keep the coffee. You need tables, you need computers for computing, how much you purchase, your revenue, your orders and things like that. And all of that needs somebody to come up with an idea to say, I need a coffee shop that sells sweet coffee or different kind of coffee. And this person who combines all the other three, we call him an entrepreneur. So entrepreneurship, this is the owner that starts the business and takes a risk. And when you combine all four of these things, then you have a cup of coffee and a muffin, and the business is producing goods and services. So goods and services for customers, and profit is made, right? Factors of production, an example of baking a cake, right? An example that we have here is baking a cake. So the natural resources that we need when baking a cake are wind, right? Harnessed to produce electricity. So you need electricity. So we're talking about windmills, right? That generate electricity. Labor, we need the baker, right? The person who makes the cake. Creativity, as you can see, this cake is designed very beautifully, right? We need creativity, ideas, right? And skills, how to make the cake itself. Capital, ovens, right? Cake pans and ingredients, yes? And entrepreneurship, the individual or the person who starts a bakery. And if we put all those together, we have a beautiful cake that is delicious and looks appetizing. Yeah. Now we move on to what we call functional areas. I hope I'm not going too fast. We have a lot to cover, so I have to kind of, under functional areas, we'll be able to learn, be able to identify the primary functional areas within a business and describe their contribution to the organization. We'll also be able to identify the primary functional areas within a business. Also, we will be able to identify key people and explain their activities within each functional area. So let's try to understand what functional areas are. So functional area and their functions. So we have about 4, 5. Management. What is management in a business, right? Management in a business, there's a group of people, or a person that plans, organizes, controls, and leads. So when you have a company, you obviously have so many people that are working there. You need maybe a group of people, or usually a one person who is more experienced, who knows everything, who has better skills, who plans things so that the business doesn't fall, who organizes so that it's not a mess, who controls so that people are not doing things they're not supposed to do, and who leads, somebody with a bigger vision, somebody who is like a driver. He's the one in front driving. He can see where you're going before you even go there. And then operations. This is, the process of us, making the goods and services. So we need operations team transforms resources into products. So this is what, in other words, we call processing. When you take inputs, they go through what we call processing before they get to output, before the product is made. So operations team is needed because this is where transformation of resources takes place. Marketing and sales. Of course, when you're a business, you need to market your product. I can make this product, but if I make it and keep it at home, no one will buy it, right? I need to introduce it to the market. I need to introduce this to people. And when I introduce it to people, I need to be able to sell it, because when I sell it, that's when I generate revenue to keep making more and more of this. Because if I make this and I keep it home, no one is going to buy, and in the end, I will make a loss. So I need to market this product. I need to put it out there. I need to see if people like it. Do I need to change something? Do I need it in different colors? And once I do that, people will start buying. And when they buy, I keep generating profits and expanding my business. So works to identify these people. They work to identify and satisfy customer needs. What do the customers want, right? What do they want? We need to satisfy customers, because if you do not satisfy customers, then they're not going to buy your product. And when people don't buy your product, you run a loss. And when you run a loss, eventually you end up closing your business. And when you have all these other things, when you have money coming in, going out, investors buying raw materials, you need a finance team. A finance team, these are the people, a group of people that plan, they obtain, and they manage company funds. Company funds, here we mean money. So they know how much is coming in. They know how much we need to spend. They know how much is needed for a project. They know how much a company needs to save and things like that, so that the company does not overspend, or the company does not put money where it's not supposed to go. And obviously, when you're running a business, you need to keep improving, right? Especially a technological business. And we're living in 2026 where things are changing pretty much every day. So you need what we call an R&D, which is research and development. So research and development, they provide knowledge and ideas that help a company keep up and ahead of competition. So for example, iPhone, they have a research and development team that studies the consumers, goes out and sees, oh, the consumers want a big camera. The consumers want a big phone. The consumers don't want a button. The consumers want this. So this research and development team, they come up with new strategies, new innovative ideas, new knowledge about consumers, new knowledge about the market, so that the company does not fail. It keeps getting better and better. Also, if it keeps getting better and better, it is also good for them, because their competitors, somebody who's doing pretty much the same thing, is left behind. So research and development team is very, very crucial in business, especially nowadays when things are fast changing or ever changing like this, right? So let's look. We have functional areas of a business here. So these are different parts of a business that work together to achieve a common goal. So when you put all these things together, management, operations, marketing and sales, finance, research and development, you have a business that runs smoothly, right? So these different parts of a business that work together to achieve a common goal. So functional area, functions, what do they do? And examples, okay? In a coffee shop, for example, we're using a coffee shop as an example. So management, what do they do? What is the functional area of management? Management, they plan, they organize, they control, they lead. So a leader, right? These supervisors, these managers, these leaders that make sure that the people do what they're supposed to do, right? So what do? They set goals and plans for an organization or for a business. They organize people and resources. They tell you how many people are needed each and every shift, the resources that are supposed to be used. They make decisions, right? They lead and motivate employees. So they lead employees. They also need to motivate, because if you don't motivate, no one likes to work there, right? They check results and make improvements. So maybe if it's a coffee shop, maybe if at 12 o'clock, too many people are ordering, they look at that and say, how can I improve this small problem that we're having at 12 o'clock when everyone is ordering coffee, but we're too late, we're too slow. So they look at these things, they look at the results, they look at the operations, and they make improvements so that they can be better equipped next time around. Examples using a coffee shop. The manager creates the work schedule, like who comes at 8, what time do you come, what time do you go home, what time do you have your break, right? They set sales goals for the month. So depending on the month, the time of the year, some months they sell a lot of coffee, some months they do not sell. I believe if it's a coffee shop, in winter you sell more coffee, in summer it's a bit tricky. So the manager needs to maximize when they sell more products, and when they do not sell more products, what can we do? Should we sell more cold beverage? Should we introduce something? Should we try something different so that people who usually buy something which is not coffee in summer can also come and see what we have? They train new employees. Training new employees is depending on the business, but here we're talking about a coffee shop. Is how do you talk to people? How do you serve people? How do you talk to a guest? How do you make the coffee? How do you present yourself in front of the shop when somebody walks in? So these managers, they train people, because if you do not train people, they tend to do things from their own head, and it's not good for the business because it's not uniform. They also solve problems, for example, with the machine, maybe not himself fixing the machine, but they know who can do it, or they have a team that can do it. Operation team. These functions is transformed resources into products. So it uses people, machines, and materials to transform resources into products, makes products or provides services, ensures quality, improves processes to save time and cost. For example, a barista is type of someone who falls under operations. Baristas make coffee and drinks, right? So they make coffee, they make the drinks for you when you go into a coffee shop. The staff prepares food when you go to a restaurant, right? This is operations of a restaurant. The machine brews coffee, right? It makes your coffee, and the staff keeps the shop clean, right? So this is part of operation, because when you walk into a cafe, when you walk into a restaurant, you want something amusing, you want a good environment. Imagine walking into a restaurant and it's very dirty, it's very noisy, the food is slow, the coffee is not, the taste is not good. It means the operations are not good, things are not being done properly, right? And what does the sales and marketing team do? Works to identify and satisfy customer needs. So these are people, or a group of people, a department that studies what the people want. What do the people want? What can we give the people? How can we reach to more people? So they understand what the customers want. What do the consumers want? Do they want cold coffee? Do they want hot coffee? Do they want a bigger cup? Do they want a smaller cup? It promotes products and services. So they promote what the business sells. So, for example, this is a coffee shop. They promote the things that the coffee shop does, the brand of the coffee shop, right? They set the prices depending on the competition, because there's a lot, mind you, there's a lot of coffee shops. So they set prices depending on the competition that they're facing. Maybe next door, there's also a coffee shop. 3 blocks away, there's also a coffee shop. So if your prices are too high, no one is going to buy from a coffee shop. You need to be somewhere, not lower, but you need to be somewhere in between. You can also be lower. They also sell and build customer loyalty. So because they're building a brand, they're pushing this brand. If what they put out is exactly what customers get, or more, or more things than what a customer anticipates, then you build a loyalty. Same like Starbucks now, they can build a shop anywhere, or McDonald's, and people will come, because why? They know the name, they know the product, they know the taste, right? So this is what the sales and marketing team does. They familiarize you with the product, or with the business, or with the brand, right? And an example of marketing and sales, they advertise new drinks on social media. And like I said in the beginning of the class, social media has become very, very important nowadays, because this is where everyone is on social media. So you have billions and billions of people. So the marketing and sales team needs to make a presence on social media, because if they do not, then they fall behind. And if you fall behind, no one will buy from you. So social media in 2026 is very, very important. They offer discounts and promotions. So for example, maybe in winter, you can buy 1 coffee and get 2. People are happy when they see this. They're spending only $20 for 1, but now they're getting 2 coffees. You see, so these are things that make people aware of your shop. They can try your brand, they can try your coffee, and in the end, they familiarize themselves with your brand. Displays, menus, and posters. As you can see, we have like this board here which says new caramel latte. So when you're walking, you can see a billboard, or you can see an advertisement. It is all done by marketing and sales. They talk with customers and take orders. So usually marketing and sales, they give you surveys where they ask you a few questions. What do you think about the business? Do you want us to improve? 1, 2, 3. The reason why they do this is because they know that consumers are very important, customers are very important, so they need to listen to what the customers want. That's why they always try to give you these things. Or can you tell us about our business? What would you improve? Do you like this, or do you like this? So more and more people, it's a numbers game. If we have 100 people and 88 say yes, we need to do that. If 88 say no, we don't need to do that. Okay. And finance, they plan, obtain, and manage company funds. So basically, they just manage the money that the company is getting. So they plan budgets. They get money when needed in terms of maybe loans or some investments. They pay bills for the company. They manage the cash. They analyze financial performance. Are we doing well? In Q1, did we make enough money? In Q2, did we lose money? Where are we losing money? Where are we making more money? Where can we make more money? Where can we utilize? This is what the finance team does. So in our example of a coffee shop, they pay the rent, the salaries of the people, the suppliers, the people that supply them with milk, with coffee beans, and other things like cups. They track daily sales. So how much did we sell Monday? How much did we sell on Tuesday? This all belongs to finance. They prepare the budget. Maybe in December you can only use 10,000, or maybe in October you can use 20,000. It depends on the sales as well. They also make sure that the shop is profitable, because if you have a profitable shop, that means the business is growing, more and more people are interested in your product. And then lastly, a research and development team. So they provide knowledge and ideas that help a company keep up and ahead of competition. So these are the people that are trying to always come up with ideas to compete with their competitors. So they find new ideas and opportunities, improve existing products and services. So maybe we have a small cup like this. These are the type of people that come up with maybe we need to come up with a cup with ears, with design, just to attract more customers. And they test and develop new products. And maybe it is a new coffee with ice cream. They test it behind doors, and when they're happy with the results, they roll it out. They keep the business innovative, especially in 2026. If you don't come up with fresh ideas, if you don't come up with new things, then your business will pretty much die, really. So they create new drink recipes. If it's a coffee shop, they test new flavors that they want to introduce into the market. They look for better ingredients, because the more you look for better ingredients, the more you reduce your cost. And they also find new ways, or what we call eco-friendly packaging. So you can see this nowadays, that when you go to restaurants, you get maybe a spoon which is made of wood, or the plastic they use is made of the paper that you can use again. Everything is becoming eco-friendly, because more and more companies are practicing sustainability. So all these are important, and when they work together, the business can succeed. Again, if you have any questions, you can ask me when we have our Q&A. So what is management? Management, the primary role of management is in a business is to supervise other people, people's performance. Most management activities fall in the following categories. So the primary role for managers, people that we call managers, that belong to a group that we call management, their primary role is to supervise, to look at other people, to see what they're doing, and to make sure that the performance is the highest that it can be, right? So most of them, they fall into the following categories. Planning. What is planning? Planning is setting a long-term and short-term goal for the business, as well as short-term strategies needed to execute against those goals. So for example, if we want to go from here to reach here, how do we do it, right? This is a manager. So maybe we take this way, maybe we take this way, or maybe when we get here, we're supposed to do. So this is planning, right? We are here, we need to achieve that. How can we do it? Organizing the operations. So like it's a coffee shop, you need to make sure that the schedule is set, the barista comes on time. You don't have maybe 2 hours when you don't have staff at the cashier, or you don't have a barista, or you don't have somebody to clean. So you need to organize everything so that it runs smoothly. So organizing the operations of a business in most efficient way. things that uses less resources, things that are not costly, right? Because you can organize, but maybe you're using too many resources. That is not efficient. No business wants that, right? So they're enabling the business to use its resources effectively so that we can keep the costs lower. Controlling when people or processes stray from the path, managers quite often are the first ones to notice and take corrective action. So, for example, if it's a coffee shop, when you notice that the cashier is not doing what they're supposed to do, maybe they're sleeping, or maybe the barista is not making coffee in the nice way, the manager is there to say, hey, you need to be back in line. This is what we practice. This is what we train. You cannot speak to the staff like that. So this is what controlling means. And leading, you are the head. You need to show people a good vision. You need to motivate people. So the manager may lead work teams or groups through a new process of development for a new project, for a new product. The manager may also be seen as a leader of the organization when it interacts within the community, customers, and suppliers. So, for example, when somebody comes to the business and says, I have a problem with your stuff, can I talk to somebody? Usually it's the leader, somebody who knows how to talk to the customer, somebody who can calm down the customer, because customers or consumers, sometimes they get very, very angry, right? And they want to talk to somebody. So this is where a manager or management comes in. They calm down the customer, they come up with a better solution. Operations are where inputs, factors of production, like we discussed, are converted to outputs. So like I told you, we put something in the processed before output. So this is what we call operations. Operations is the heart of a business, pumping out goods and services in quantity and quality that meets the needs of customers. So the operations manager, what does the operations manager do? So he's responsible for overseeing day-to-day business operations, which can include ordering raw materials, scheduling workers to produce tangible goods. So operations manager is there to see what people are doing on day by day. Again, we go back to the coffee shop. An operations manager is there to look at when a customer gets in, is my staff there? Are they making the coffee? Are they ordering enough milk? They make sure that the milk never runs short, or the milk is not bad, or nothing expires. So you look at the things that people do, which is what we call operations, and they make sure that it is running smoothly. Marketing identifies customer needs and designs products and services that meet those needs. So we study customers. We look at what do the customers want? What are they looking for? What are they expecting? What do they want from us? And once we look at those things, once we identify those things, then we try to turn it into a positive product or service. So the marketing functions include promoting goods and services, determining how the goods and services will be delivered, developing a pricing strategy to capture market share while remaining competitive. So like I said, coming up with a price that still attracts people and you still make profit, but also competing with your other competitors, and also building and overseeing businesses internet presence. Like I said, we have Douyin, TikTok, Facebook, what do you call it, Bilibili, and a lot of things, right? So the marketing team needs to be present on all of those things, because if they're not present on those things, they're falling behind. Their competitors are ahead, because everyone nowadays is using the internet. So marketing has become very, very important, especially on the internet nowadays. Finance. So the finance team is involved in planning, obtaining and managing the company's money, right? The money that is coming in, the money that is going out, how much they're spending, and things like that. So finance managers, they plan for both short and long-term financial capital needs, right? They analyze the impact that borrowing will have on the financial well-being of a business. So for example, if we need funds we can take from the bank, but is this a good thing? How is it going to affect us? This is what financial managers do. The finance department answers questions about funds should be raised, the long-term cost of borrowing funds, and the implications of financial decisions for long-term health of the business. So they look at, if we do this, if we buy these machines, maybe it's not good for us. If we borrow this money, maybe it's good for us. If we hire too many people, the salaries will be too much. So they look at the spending, how much comes, how much we are investing, how much we are borrowing, and things like that. So accounting is a very crucial part of the functional area, because it provides managers with the information needed to make decisions about the allocation of company resources. Where should we put the money? That's what it means. And research and development. Research and development is the lifeblood of manufacturing businesses. Research and development is staffed with scientists, thought leaders, subject matter experts, and industry analysts, striving to provide the organization with knowledge and ideas to keep up ahead of the competition. So you have people that really know the market very well, people that know the product very well, people that know how to deal with the environment, the customers, right? Why? Because you need to study all these things and put them together, right? So maybe when we're talking about sunglasses, right? We want to design sunglasses, new sunglasses. Do people want light sunglasses? Do they want big frames? Do they want small frames? So they study the market, and they test these products until they come up with a product that is perfect for their customers or for the general consumer. So research and development is led by the Chief Technology Officer, which we call CTO, who manages development or vice president or similar title, depending on what technology products are being produced. We will talk more about this later on. So key people within the functional areas, right? These are the key people within the functional areas. So we have management, right? CEO or president on the top, which he makes major decisions. And then under operations, under him we have these four functional areas. We have operations, we have finance, we have marketing or sales, we have research and development, and usually the highest leader here is called the COO. Under operations is Chief Operating Officer, and under finance, the head of finance, who reports all of these four, they report to the CEO or the president. So finance, you find a chief financial officer. Marketing is credit revenue, chief revenue officer, right? And then research and development, you find chief technology officer. So these people, all these C executive leaders, they report to the management or the president of the company. And under them, you have vice presidents. The and then you have IT, which is to do with computers, right? So look at this in more detail. I think we can take a 10-minute break and then we come back, because I don't want to feed you too much and then you end up forgetting. So let's take a 10-minute break, and then I'll come back and we'll talk about all the organizational structures, how these departments work together in a company. So I will see you in 10 minutes, and then we will wrap up our class, and then we'll see where we end. So see you in 10 minutes. Okay, welcome back. Welcome back. So let's look at the organizational structure. Sorry, um, how departments work together in a company. So we spoke about operations, finance, marketing and sales, and research and development. So we have management team, like the head, right, which is the CEO or the president of a company. So these are the people that set the overall goals and make major decisions of the company. So these are the heads, they make very big decisions, right? And under them, we have four departments that report to them, right? Under operations, we have the COO. Under finance, we have CFO. Under marketing, we have the CRO. Under R&D, we have the CTO. So, under operations, the COO is responsible for producing goods or delivering services efficiently on time, right? So this is what operations is about. So this operations COO is responsible for these goods or delivering the services efficiently and on time, right? And right underneath him, he has a vice president in production. He manages the manufacturing process and producing activities. So you have this vice president who manages pretty much the manufacturing, the process, the production activity. And then you have a supply chain management underneath the production vice president. This person or these people, they manage suppliers, inventory, logistics to deliver materials and products. So they look at, the in and out of the supplies, the inventory, the logistics and stuff like that. And underneath the supply chain management team or person, you have procurement director, right? These are responsible for buying raw materials, services that the company needs. And under finance, you have under the CFO, which is the primary goal, is manages the company's money, finances, and financial planning. So this is the head of finance, right? Underneath him, you have accounting, right? And they handle financial records, reports, and compliance, right? And underneath that, you have human resources, yeah, the HR. HR people, they manage people, hiring, training, and employee relations. So they do, they make sure that the hiring process is done, the training is done, the employee relations are well dealt with. And then you have the legal team right underneath them, which is in most cases the general counsel, right? They provide legal advice and they ensure the company follows laws and regulations, because sometimes the company doesn't know. Sometimes, when they're doing operations, they might practice something that is not allowed in a country or in a state. For example, Middle East, this department is very, very important, the legal department, because when you are hiring someone, you need to know if you're allowed to hire that person or what is required when you hire that person, right? And then on the marketing team, they find customers, and the CRO here find customers, promotes products, and drive sales to grow the business, right? So underneath the CRO, you have the marketing VP, right? He promotes the brand and creates demand for products and services. So he promotes the brand. If it's Starbucks, if it's McDonald's, he promotes that brand, and he creates demand for the products and the services that the company offers. And right underneath him, you have sales VP, sales products, services, and meets revenue targets. So if there is a revenue target, the sales team or the sales management is responsible for achieving that. And you have customer service director right underneath that. This is the team or person that manages, the support of customers and ensures customer satisfaction. So if I call, for example, a company and I'm not happy with it, it's all coming from customer service, right? And then R&D, the CTO, Chief Technology Officer, right? It's their primary goal is to develop new ideas, products, technologies to keep the company competitive. You need to be ahead of the game, right? Right underneath them, they have the development team that develops, obviously, the new things that they run out, the new things that they put into place. So they create and they improve products and solutions. So depending on the company, if it's a technological company, they come up with the new functions of the phone. If it's a car, they come up with these crazy functions. Now we can see cars with these long screens, so they do this in the development team. And then the IT director is right underneath. He manages technology systems and company information. So in big organizations like Alibaba, they have an internal system there they use. This internal system has the database of their customers, has the database of their employees, has the database of each and everything that Alibaba does, their suppliers, the numbers and everything. So the IT department, it does manage the technology systems and the company information. So all departments here work together to achieve the mission of the company, right? And they all have one goal: happy customers, and the company will grow. I hope I've explained it in a way that you can understand. But if you still have any other questions, please do let me know. And which brings us to a few questions, right? Practice question number 4. Right. Which functional area of a business is responsible for converting the factors of production into goods and services? So which functional area here of a business is responsible for converting the factors of production into goods and services? A, is it management? B, is it operations? C, is it marketing or sales? And D, is it finance? Right. So let me know which answer you think is the right one. I just realized I think I put the answer here. Yeah, I just realized that. So I'll remove the answer there. But just let me know. The next question. Okay, all the answers are there, I guess. The next question. A company. Oh, no, number 5. Right. Number 5. A company wants more people to buy its products. Which department is responsible? So if a company wants more people to buy its products, which department is responsible? A, is it marketing? B, is it finance? C, is it operations? D, is it research and development? So tell me which one is responsible when a company wants people to buy its products. And then number 6, a company wants to create new smartphones. So they want to make a new smartphone with better features than its competitors. They want to make a smartphone with maybe crazy new features that are better than its competitors. Which department is responsible? A, finance. B, marketing. C, R&D, which is research and development. And D, human resources. So which one do you think between A, B, C, or D? You let me know. And then number 7, a company needs to prepare next year's budget and decide how much money it can spend. Which department is responsible? So a company is preparing a budget for next year and they need to decide how much money it can spend. Which department is responsible? Is it A, operations department, marketing department, finance department, or research and development department? You let me know. And then we move on to stakeholders. What are stakeholders? So as always, our learning outcomes here are being able to identify business stakeholders and describe their relationship with business organizations. We also be able to define what we call internal and external stakeholders. We'll also be able to describe stakeholders' relationship with business organizations. So let's see what we have here. So business stakeholders, what is a stakeholder? A stakeholder is an individual or group of people or group that has legitimate interest in a company, organization, or business. So these are the people that have an interest in a company or in an organization or in a business, people like us. So we have what we call internal stakeholders, we have what we call external stakeholders. So internal stakeholders are people that are directly involved with the company. So as you can see, the ones in blue, these are the employees, the people that work for that business, that organization, or that company, the people directly involved inside that business. We also have the manager. Of course, he manages the employees. He gets to see what goes in, what comes out, the operations and everything. And we have owners, usually the people that started the business, or the people that have more shares, the people that are, the pinnacle, the most important people of the company, right? And external, these are things that are outside. They're not directly related, but they do have maybe transactions with the business. For example, suppliers, the reason why it's stakeholder is because they supply raw material, they supply things, and the more they supply, the more they have a relationship, their business grows, right? So they are interested in the company. Why are they interested in the company? Because if they don't maintain relationships, the company stops from taking their things, right? So they are really interested in the company. What do you need? Do you want us to make something different? Do you need more? Because they're trying to sell more and more and more to that company, right? Customers, we buy from that company. Is what I'm buying safe? Is what I'm buying of value? Is what I'm buying worth my money? Are they wasting? Have they developed something good? Is iPhone making a new phone? So I am interested in that company. And I'll give you an example. It's a bit out of our course, but recently PlayStation 5, they released information that they were not going to use a CD, right? A CD for their games anymore. A lot of customers, which are stakeholders, are complaining about this. So you see, whatever the company, a business, or an organization does affect its clients, the consumers that buy their product or service, right? Society is a stakeholder because maybe the business is disturbing the environment. Maybe the business, is not helping the environment, is not doing anything for the society. The government, of course, the government needs to make sure that the business or the organization is following the regulations, the laws. Are they paying their tax, or they're just avoiding tax? Creditors, of course, they like businesses because they give them money. And when these businesses pay back that money, they pay back with interest, right? Shareholders, of course, the bigger the business grows, the more they make profit. Remember, we spoke about profit business. So when a profit business makes money, these shareholders, they share the interest amongst them, right? So when the business grows, their wealth also grows. So stakeholders of a company. A stakeholder is a person, like I said, or group of people or organization that can affect or can be affected by company's action. So internal stakeholders, like I explained, what are internal stakeholders? We have employees, they work for the company, they help the company achieve its goals. So they're directly related with the company. Managers, they plan, organize, lead, and control the work, right? And then we have the owners, they invest money in the company and they take risks. So they're expecting something back. Yes. And then we have customers here. Customers, they buy the company's products or services. So they are directly affected by whatever the company does. And they do also affect the company, because if the customers decide not to buy, like what happened to Nokia, the company will go bankrupt eventually, right? External stakeholders, people or groups outside the company. So you have suppliers, they provide resources, material, services to the company. So if the company decides, oh, we don't want this product anymore, this might affect suppliers. If the suppliers say we're not producing this anymore, this might affect the company. So you see, they need each other. The supply needs the company needs the supplier. Society, these are communities and public places where the company operates. So Are they making noise? Are they polluting? Are they dumping things? This is very important. So if this company is not practicing sustainability, the community, the society is not happy, right? So this company and the society, they're directly related. The society also is part of the community of the people that buy, is part of the customers, right? So if this company is not regarded by this society as something that they view as is helping their community, then they don't buy, right? The government sets the laws, the regulations that the company must follow. So obviously, there's taxation and things like that. So the government is directly impacted by whatever this company does, and the company is also directly impacted by whatever the government decides, because if the government changes certain laws, this company might not also be able to run its production facilities smoothly. Creditors, they lend money, like I say, to companies and expect to be repaid. In most of the cases, they get profit, more money than they lend. And shareholders, they invest money in the company and expect a return. So they put money to boost the business, and the business does well, they get the money back. So why are stakeholders important in a company? Why are these groups of people important, internal or external? So they support, the stakeholders provide resources, skills, money, and support. So they support, they give resources. So stakeholders, for example, they provide resources, skills, money, and support. So for example, if we look at shareholders here, the shareholders, they give capital, they loan money, the creditors, they loan money, right? Suppliers, they give resources, right? Better decisions. So when a company understands its internal and external stakeholders, it understands and helps the company make better decisions. What does the society want? What does the government want? So that they don't get taxed a lot, they don't break the law, they always listening to what the government says, so that they don't get fined, so also so that they don't break the trust between them and their customers, or between them and their employees, or between them and their managers, you see. So it is very important to understand all of this so that you can make better decisions. You can build trust with your employees. So good relationships with stakeholders build trust and good reputation. Like I said, if the society thinks you're a good company, you have their trust, they will buy your products, they will support you without you even doing much. Long-term success, happy and satisfied stakeholders help the company grow. So this affects everyone. If your employees are happy, if your managers are happy, if your owners are happy, if suppliers are happy, society is happy, if the government is happy, if the creditors are happy, if the shareholders are happy, the customers are happy, your business can grow long-term. But if these people have negative conclusions about your business, then your business is likely not to go far. And then it balances interests. Companies must consider the needs of different stakeholders. So when you put the needs of all different stakeholders into perspective, then you can run your business successfully. So a successful company creates value not only for itself, but for all of its stakeholders. Each and every person is important here because they are directly impacted by the decisions that the business makes. And these people also directly affect the business, whatever it is that they decide. Let's move on. So internal stakeholders. Internal stakeholders are groups of people or people who work directly within the business, such as managers, employees, and owners. Managers and employees want to earn more money, right? Wages, and keep their jobs. So they want more money and keep their jobs. They want to have job safety, right? They want to keep getting promoted, keep being, appreciated. So they have an interest in the financial health and success of the business. So they also look at, is the company doing well? Do I have a future here? Am I going to get promoted? Is my salary going to increase? Because this is the money they use to feed their family. So they really have deep interest in an organization, a business, or a company. owners want to maximize the profit. The person who starts the business, he wants to maximize the profit, and makes a compensation for him for the risk that they took, right? Owning and running the company. So if the company grows, the more the company grows, the more the owner in most cases becomes richer and richer and richer, right? External stakeholders are groups of outsiders, people outside the business, or people who do not work inside the business but are affected in some way by the decisions the business makes. So external stakeholders can include customers, like I said, shareholders, creditors, federal, state, and local government. Remember the tax, following the regulations, the law, the local community. Are you supporting our community? Are you polluting our community? What it is that you're doing for our community? The society, the suppliers, because these people, if they are not happy, then your business is likely going to fail. External forces. We are almost done, and we'll try to finish the whole chapter today, so that next class we will just move on to the second chapter. On external forces, our learning outcomes here being able to identify the external forces that shape the business environment, right? Being able to list the external forces that affect businesses, and also being able to give examples of how various external forces affect the participants in a business and its functional areas. So let's look at what we have here. Okay, so external forces of a business, these are outside forces that the business cannot control but must understand to respond, right? So these are things outside. They cannot control them, right? These are things that they happen whether they like it or they don't like it, but they must understand them so that they can keep running the business. So let's look at some of them. We have what we call economic environment. So these are conditions in the economy that affect people's income, spending, and the cost of doing business. So maybe there's inflation in a country, right? That means people are not going to buy, people are not going to spend money on your business. What does it affect? It affects mainly operations, right? The production of goods and services, because when people are not buying, you cannot produce, you cannot sell, right? Examples would be inflation, like I said, rising prices, the price keeps going up and up, interest rates if they're too high, unemployment rate, if people don't have jobs, then there's no money for them to spend, economic growth or a recession, right? And it mostly affects the operations of a business. And then we have a competitive environment when there's too many businesses or companies that are doing the same or exact product that you're offering to the market. So other businesses and competitors that try to attract the same customers. So when you're selling maybe the same product that looks the same, everyone is competing for this, for maybe 100 customers, right? This is something that affects a business externally. So examples would be new competitors, price competition. So when you have so many shops that are selling the same thing, right? Some of them, they'll decrease the prices ridiculously, which will affect your business. So the product quality might not be good. Advertising and promotions, right? So it mostly affects the selling, your marketing, and obviously your sales, right? Because your sales will drop if the competitive environment is unhealthy, right? So what is sales and marketing? Again, is understanding customers, promoting products, and increasing sales, right? But then if this competitive environment is unhealthy, then your sales are just going to go down. And social environment, these people, the culture, the values, the lifestyle, the trends that influence what customers buy and how they behave. So for example, when you go to different countries, you will find KFC, McDonald's, but I guarantee you that in each and every countries that I've been to, for example, in China, I was surprised to see that KFC sells things like noodles, things like rice. I think in Philippines, their McDonald's sells rice and soup and some gravy. Why? Because if they don't do that, the local people, we will move somewhere where they will find those things. These are values, these are traditions, these are cultures that you must follow. So if you come in with your business, maybe you only sell fries and nuggets in America or in the UK, you cannot expect to do the same. You can still have the same products, but you need to follow what the people want in that country. So you can see this with, excuse me, we call this localization, especially with KFC, because KFC here, I believe in China, it sells noodles, it sells things that people in China want. They still sell burgers, they still sell things, but they've introduced other products. Why? Because if they had not done that, then people would just simply leave and go to restaurants where they can find those things, right? So examples are population growth, change in lifestyle and value. This one is very important again, because we can see this with the social movement nowadays, that people are becoming more and more healthy conscious, right? So if your business relies on selling, fast food, sweet things, and that environment is, choosing to be more and more healthy, that does affect your business, right? The educational level, when the educational level is at a point where they understand, they might not want to buy because they know what you're putting there. They know that this is not good for them. Or if the educational level is too low, they might view your product as unworthy. Why am I buying this? It's useless. I would rather buy a fake product, right? So you understand the difference. So if we take the same iPhone and go maybe to a region where people don't have the education to understand what exactly is inside, they might not see the value or the worth of it, right? But if you take the same phone to an engineer, a computer science student, they know the operating system, they know what's in there, they see the value because they know how to use it and stuff like that. And like I said, health awareness. So it also does affect your sales, right? Legal environment. So legal environment pretty much is the law, the regulations that businesses must follow in countries where they operate. So these are things that you're supposed to say yes to, you're supposed to abide by. And these are labor laws. Maybe in the country where the business is, or in another state, people can work 6 hours, but in that state, maybe they only require people to work 4 hours. So these are things that you need to be very, very careful about. So the tax laws, consumer protection laws, and health and safety regulations. And also it does impact, your research and development, which is, creating new ideas, improving products, and becoming innovative, right? And then technological improvement. So new technologies and innovation that can create opportunities or challenge businesses. So this is, in 2026, we are talking about technology a lot because things are changing very, very fast. And the more they change, the more you need to spend, the more you need to invest in that technology, which obviously your finance department might not be happy about. So example, automation and AI, you need to invest in that, in those systems, in that technology, right? New production technology, internet and digital tools that we use, communication tools. And then the last would be global environment. So these are events and forces around the world that affect business, even if they operate locally. So these are things that maybe they can happen 300,000 kilometers away, but because there's a product that we need here that comes from there, it does affect. Maybe there's a conflict or a war or something like that. So this can be global trade and tariffs. Tariffs are the money that we pay when things come in, right? Exchange rates, maybe the money has lost value, but political instability, natural disasters or pandemic, like what happened with COVID, or what happens when there is an earthquake. So why are these forces important? They do help businesses spot opportunities and threats early, right? They help businesses make better decisions. They also help businesses plan for the future and reduce risk. So when you understand this, you can plan for the future and you can reduce the risk. They help businesses stay competitive and succeed. So once you understand all these external forces that affect your business, you can adapt and you can change, and in the end you are a successful business. So all parts of these work together to create value. Right? So it's the same thing that I just explained, right? So understanding the external forces, influence, how they influence business activities, right? So economic environment, pretty much operations; competitive environment, pretty much your marketing and your sales, right? Social environment, it does hinder your sales, and a little bit of management, because you need to be able to understand what's going on. Global environment, management, a little bit of finance. Technology environment does hinder your finance and your research and development, and legal environment does hinder your research and development, and also your finance to some extent. So class activity, who are stakeholders, right? So we have a small class activity here whereby you need to match the stakeholder, match each stakeholder to its description. So for example, stakeholder description, employees, then you need to choose, is it A, B, C, D, or E? Customers, which one is it? Suppliers, which one is it? Government, which one is it? Owners, which one is it? Right? So I expect you just to match employees, for example, B, work for the company, right? Owners, which one? Government, which one? Suppliers, which one? Employees, customers, all right? And then we can discuss it in the next Q&A live session together. Let's just try to finish this. So another class discussion that I had for you, because this was the end. So who is most important? Imagine a company that wants to be successful. Imagine a company that wants to, sell more, that want to become the best. Who is more important in that company? So discuss these questions. Who is the most important stakeholder and why? What happens if customers stop buying the company's product? What do you think happens if people stop buying an iPhone, for example? What happens if employees stop working? What happens if people say, oh, today we're not going to work? Can a business succeed without stakeholders? Why or why not? And I believe this is a quick review of what we covered today. So what is a business? We spoke about it. You should be able to answer these after you watch this video. So what is a business? You should be able to answer. What are the primary differences between for a profit and a non-profit business? What factors of production sustain businesses? How do resources flow between businesses and households? What are the major business functions and what does each do? Define a business stakeholder. And lastly, what external forces impact businesses? So this is a quick review, and you should also be able to answer these questions. If you cannot, you can rewind or you can rewatch the video once more, and I'm sure you'll be able to come across where I've mentioned it or an answer that you're looking for. If not, write everything down, and then when we have our live Q&A, you can share it with me. I can clarify or I can explain further if you require me to. I hope I explained everything clearly, and like I said, we will have a chance to talk one-on-one, to discuss together as a class. And let's not waste more time. Thank you for listening today. Thank you for watching the video. I will definitely see you in chapter 2 when we cover chapter 2, and I'll see you when we do our live sessions. So thank you. Have a great day, great weekend, great evening, great afternoon. Cheers. Take care. Bye.